Vijay sir, shall I start?
Yeah, good morning, ma'am. Please start.
Yes. Sports is a major contributor to economic, social, and physical development. Today, the very purpose of this webinar is to highlight the challenges posed by COVID 19 on the sporting fraternity and the physiological and psychological impact and effect on a sportsperson. On this note, I extend a very warm welcome to everyone present for today's one-day international webinar on sports and games in COVID-19, a requisite, organized by Little Flower Degree College, Uppal, in collaboration with Nizam College. This is Thane, your host for today's webinar. Before commencing the webinar, I take this opportunity to welcome the principal and correspondent of Little Flower Degree College, Reverend Brother Vincent Reddy, Mrs. Jayanti Reddy, Vice Principal of Little Flower Degree College, Principal Professor L.B. Lakshmikant Rathod, Vice Principal Dr. Avinash Jaiswal from Nizam College, and the conveners for today's webinar, Dr. G. Samuel Prabhu Kiran and Mrs. Pratibha Presti from the Department of Physical Education, Nizam College, and LFDC, respectively. With immense gratification, I welcome and greet our three distinguished speakers, Mr. Arshad Ayub, former Indian cricketer and former president of Hyderabad Cricket Association, Mr. Norman Isaac, Commissioner, International Basketball Federation, and Mrs. G.V. Dhanalakshmi, former international athlete, to the webinar. Welcome. I welcome the three guests. Likewise, I would like to welcome the faculty, sportspersons, students, and other participants across Pan-India and the world. Thank you for joining us. An act that is steeped in Indian tradition is invoking the blessings of the Almighty. I call upon Manoja and Alfreda from Little Flower Degree College to lead us into Lord's hands.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing till the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I worship your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness, I will keep on singing. 1,000 reasons for my heart to find.
Sorry for the interruption. Could have just be louder.
Almighty God, we thank you for keeping us safe and healthy as the whole world faces this COVID-19 crisis. We pray for your peace, provision, healing, and hope. Give us strength, endurance, and courage to move forward. Keep us safe and healthy physically and mentally. Bless our workouts and the games we play and exercise. Help us, Lord, not to lose hope. Instead, foster self-discipline, respect, responsibility, hard work, excellence, and physical fitness, and keep the sportsmanship spirit alive in us. Bless our sports webinar today and give us insights in the same. We pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Alfreda and Manoja. Allow me the luxury to speak a few words about Little Flower Degree College. Little Flower Degree College, Uppal, is a Catholic minority institution established by the Montfort Brothers of St. Gabriel. It was started in 2008 as a part of Little Flower Junior College. Though LFDC is a minority institution, it strives to impart quality education without distinction of religion, caste, and creed. I now request Mr. Vijay from the Department of Computer Science to take us on a visual tour of the college.
Little Flower Degree College, Uppal, Hyderabad, a Montfortian institute run by the Brothers of St. Gabriel Educational Society, has been illuminating the world around with its motto, Lead to Illuminate. In its 12 years journey of excellence, LFDC has been fostering the young generation to be humane and preparing them to compete, realizing their dreams and purpose in life on the competitive global platform.
Good educational environments,
discipline,
practical skills
helped me in getting my first job.
excellent placement opportunities.
LFDC is an awesome college.
Dear parents and students, Little Flower Degree College, Uppal, Hyderabad has begun its admissions for the academic year 2020 and 21. The online application for the 3-year degree in BA, BSc, BCom and BBA is now available on our website.
Little Flower College,
LFDC,
Little Flower Degree College.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay. I now request the principal and correspondent of Little Flower Degree College, Reverend Brother Vincent Reddy, to deliver his welcome note.
A very good morning and a warm welcome to the international webinar on sports and games in COVID-19, a requisite. We are living through an extraordinary hard times. I want to extend the deepest sympathies for all those who have been impacted one way or the other by this pandemic. I extend a deep gratitude for all those who have been working so tirelessly to get us through this crisis. Well, it's hard to be together in person during this time, but I'm comforted by this community gathered virtually today. Well, sports and games is my favorite event of my life. I spent almost 90 minutes per day in it. By your presence virtually encourages me today, as I am told that 500 plus people have been registered for this webinar. Congratulations to each one of you. It shows your love for sports and games, especially during this pandemic and even afterwards. I welcome the eminent sports personalities and today's speakers, Mr. Ashad Ayub, Indian cricketer and a former president, Hyderabad Cricket Association, and I'm told that he's also our alumni of our sister concern institution, All Saints High School. I'm happy, sir, that today you are available with us. Mr. Norman Isaac, Commissioner of FIBA, World Basketball Federation and Secretary, Telangana Basketball Association. Mrs. G.V. Dhanlakshmi, who had been here for some time back, former international athlete, Superintendent of Central Goods and Service, Tax Department, Hyderabad. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting and being with us again today. I also extend my hearty welcome to Professor L.B. Lakshmikant Rathod, Principal, Nizam College, Dr. Avinash Jaishwal, Vice Principal, Nizam College, Mrs. Jayanti Reddy, Vice Principal, LFDC, Dr. G. Samuel, Assistant Professor, Department of Physical Education, Mrs. Pratibha, Physical Director, LFDC, and all my fans of sports and games, the enthusiasts, and the invitees across the globe, welcome and thank you all for joining us this morning. The COVID-19 pandemic has upended all areas of our lives and caused the most significant disruption to all our calendar worldwide, and sports is no exception. Now, every part of the sporting value chain has been affected, from athletes, teams, and professional leagues to the media that broadcast and cover games, suspending their activities to limit the spread of the virus. In these difficult times, the ability of sports to bring people together is missed more than ever. A lack of professional sporting competitions is affecting fans, reshaping both their behavior and their relationship. Sports and games fulfill different roles for different people, and the current interruption affects us all in different ways. People found comfort in this regularity. No matter what else was going on, sports were there, sometimes acting as a social connector, other times an emotional release. Sports and games are woven into our culture. What have we lost? A sense of community, belonging, and socialization that sports bring through either playing them with friends or watching them together. We have lost sports as a social unifier, but also the unscripted and unpredictable drama that live events provide, the emotional escape from reality, and the simple entertainment. This pandemic may change the protocols we have to live by. I'm sure that all of us want things to go back to how they were. I'm sure that the things will improve soon and we get back to the old rhythms. I wish all the success for this webinar. I'm sure it will energize all of us. Once again, a hearty welcome to all the speakers. Thank you all for accepting our invitation. I also thank all those who have taken trouble to arrange these prominent sports personalities for this webinar. All the very best. Stay safe, stay healthy, mentally and physically. God bless us.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. And as the great Martin Luther King said, we shall overcome this, brother. Thank you. As mentioned a few minutes back, this international webinar is being organized As mentioned a few minutes back, this international webinar is being organized in collaboration with Nizam College. Ladies and gentlemen, a brief introduction of Nizam College. Nizam College is one of the premier colleges within the fold of Osmania University. Established in 1887 during the reign of Mir Muhammad Ali Khan Asif Jah VI. Due to its consistently high degree of academic performance, it had been granted autonomous status by the UGC in 1988-89. It boasts of many eminent persons as its alumni. I request Mr. Vijay from the Department of Computer Science to take us on a visual tour of Nizam College.
Nizam College. Nizam College is a constituent college of Osmania University established in 1887 during the period of Nawab Mir Mahbub Ali Khan Asif Jah VI in Bashirbagh, Hyderabad. The founder of the college and of several other educational institutions in Hyderabad state was Nawab Imad ul Mulk, who did great work in the field of education as the Director of Education. He scouted and then appointed Dr. Agornath Chattopadhyaya, father of Sarojini Naidu, Nightingale of India, as the first principal of the college. The present building was a summer palace of Payak Nawab Mulk Fakhrul Bahadur. Later he gifted the palace to the college administration. This college is an autonomous, constituent college of Osmania University. It is one of the premier colleges within the fold of Osmania University. The college is one of the oldest and most prestigious institutions of higher education, not only in Andhra Pradesh state but also in India. It was established in 1887 by the amalgamation of Hyderabad School and Madrasa-i-Aliyah. In view of its consistently high degree of academic performance and long-standing, the college had been granted autonomous status by the UGC in the year 1988 to 89 at undergraduate level and continues to enjoy the status. It is also NAC accredited and has been given college with potential for excellence grant by the UGC. The college has its own academic bodies, that is, governing body, academic council, finance committee, internal quality assurance cell, and boards of studies for each department to monitor its account.
Thank you. I now request the principal of Nizam College, Professor L.B. Lakshmikant Rathod, to deliver his welcome address.
As there is some technical problem with sir, he will continue. He'll join us later.
Shall I begin the session, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Please continue.
Yeah. Before the session begins, as said by Mr. Vijay, there is some technical problem and sir will join us later. Before the session begins, I request our participants to be present till the end so as to get benefited by our eminent guests and drop their questions, if any, in the chat box. It will be addressed after the session. Thank you. We begin our first session titled Impact of COVID-19 on Sports and Games. To introduce our eminent speaker, I call upon Tanya, 2nd BBA, Little Flower Degree College.
Good morning. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome our guest for today's webinar, Mr. Arshad Ayub. Mr. Arshad Ayub is a former Indian cricketer who played in 13 test matches and 32 one-day international from 1987 to 1991. In January 2010, he became the manager for the Indian cricket team for the series held in Bangladesh, including the 2015 World Cup. Sir established the Arshad Ayub Cricket Academy in 1998 in the Masabtank area of Hyderabad. Since then, the academy has contributed many players at all levels from under 14 to Ranji Trophy. It gives us immense pride to inform our participants that Mr. Arshad Ayub is an alumni of Little Flower School and Little Flower Junior College. Mr. Arshad Ayub is a former president of Hyderabad Cricket Association. Little Flower Degree College welcomes you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. I now request our technical team to enable the speaker to share the screen.
Good morning, everyone. It's Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir. Please continue.
As we all know that this pandemic, COVID-19, I think all the other fields, I think probably the IT industry and all those industry can work without any, problem with social distancing. but as far as sports and games are concerned, it is always has to be, some of the sports are touch games. Some of the sports basically have to be played in such a way that you have to have a contact. But to me, this pandemic has really affected the sports, as you are aware that now today, if you look at it, can we go on to the second slide, please? The effects what we are talking about on the sports and games are tremendous now in today's time, that I don't know when it's going to be safe enough to start the sports. The government has to give a green signal, and the international organizations, federations have to take a call on that. But I think today, if you look at it, not only the fans are missing the sport, but also economically it is being hit very badly. All the sports. If you look at it, that we had to cancel IPL, we had to cancel South African one-day international matches, and furthermore, we are facing that in future we will be having a problem with the World Cup and everything. So I think generally this is about cricket, but if you look at other games, the yearly game tournaments which has whether you take it tennis, badminton, football, the Premier League has now England Premier League, Italian League, French League, all those football leagues have been stopped, and it's going to affect the Olympics also, Tokyo Olympics. So I think overall there will be a great impact of this COVID-19, and the losses, I think it's going to be humongous. In America itself, the industry is more than I think around about $5 billion industry is there, sports industry that will come to a standstill. And overall, I feel that there's going to be an economic effect, such an economic effect, which will actually not only the sports itself, but the players who are doing well. That's fine. The lower grade players, they will start struggling if they don't get the income. Similarly, there are so many connected people like the umpires, match referees. All these people are connected with the sports. They will also go through the bad times, and we all have to adjust to that. And I really hope that this effect can be controlled faster. But we do have to live with this, and we do need to find provisions as far as the sports is concerned. That how to actually start the sports, whether we can have empty stadiums or whether we can have 1/3 capacity of the stadium, because there are certain sports which hardly have any contact. And one of them is cricket. Actually, it's a sport which is being contacted only by the ball. So I think that can be controlled about. And similarly, if you look at some of the sports like tennis and all that, can be controlled about. But football, wrestling, boxing, all these sports are, contact sports. So it'll be very difficult to, do that. And I hope that, the federations and the associations, they are going to take, they're going to make some rules and regulation in such a way that the sports can go on with COVID-19, and the precautionary measures which has to be taken. But in an overall situation, I feel that this is going to be an effect which is going to basically drop down the market in such a way, the revenue generations and everything will be so hard hit that it'll take the overall world to come out of it. Probably it'll take another 2 years once everything starts coming back to normal. And this, we all have to go through it. And I think, we'll all have to face it. It's a difficult time. All of us have to face that difficult time. So I'm sure that, people are aware of this. And although we all are sports lovers, we know that, sports have been the part of our life, not from now, from centuries, that the sports have been part of our life. And people have always enjoyed the sports, and right from the beginning. And I think in today's time, been much more than what it used to be earlier. And I feel that, just come out of it and make sure that, that we are safe, as well as, we are keeping our social distancing, as well as playing the game and enjoying the game, and giving that, entertainment to the fans and the public who are interested to watch these games. See, if you look at that, if the one game which really affects, especially one tournament which really affects cricket is IPL. This is one of the biggest run by one board in BCCI. This IPL has been such a big tournament, and it has helped cricketers all over the world. If you look at it, that if the IPL, if it doesn't happen this year, then there is a huge loss. I think more than between 3,000 to 4,000 crores of loss is there for BCCI. That loss actually will trickle down to all the players and the management, as well as the employees who are actually being part of this IPL. So I think, we are looking at a loss which I don't think it can be replaced by anything. So similarly, the Premier League of England, similarly, if you look at other people, other sports, I think Wimbledon will not be able to happen, I think, because of this. And so many big tennis tournaments, so many yeah, football leagues are going to be shut down because of this. So in terms of revenue, I think this is going to be a very big impact, very, very big impact. And job wise, the instability will start, because, the boards and the organizations, the federation will not be able to sustain the employees for such a long time. So I'm hoping that this will come into control very soon. And the figures, what I can tell you is that the Tokyo Olympics itself will be losing around about 6 billion. And similarly, as I said, US major leagues is about 5.5 billion. Uh, uh, Spanish league, UK sports, Italian series, French league, all these leagues will lose a lot of money. So I feel that, it'll, this is an impact which is going to be an impact for long last impact as far as the sports are concerned. And I feel that, the sooner we learn to uh, play the sports with safety, I think it's better. And I think the federations and the boards, the ICC and everyone have to come up with some kind of a plan, wherein, they need to um bring out such safety measures. With those measures, there can be some, sports activity, whether it is um, all the sports, or whether it is selected sports. I think at least the activity can start. I think it's very, very important that, this has to start, and people have to look into that, and they will have to take measures to live with it and play with it. if you look at the events, what has been cancelled during this time is basically, all the events have been cancelled, and some of the sports which really don't have that much of money, they struggle a lot, especially field hockey and even in athletics, and in world over athletics there is good money, but local athletes and all that, they will struggle unless and until they have a stable job. So I feel that in an overall situation, this is going to be a major issue for a lot of sports person and athletes. I think that should sum up the whole thing. And if there is uh, something which I want to say, is that definitely that we do need to play sports, but you also have to make sure that you are safe and healthy to play these sports. So stay safe. I can wait for any of the questions. If somebody has posted any question, I can answer that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for a highly informative speech with regard to impact on COVID-19 on sports and games. Thank you very much. Asking questions is the simplest and effective way of learning. We now go to the question and answer session. I now request Dr. Gomthi to support our speaker in this session.
Thank you, Ms. Tain. Thank you, Ms. Tain. Thank you. The impact of COVID on sports by Dr. Arshad Ayub. This was indeed a very informative session, sir. Though the pandemic has crippled us in many ways, the sports enthusiasts they show in a great number. From that, we can know that how they are crippled during this time. I think 2 participants have raised their hands. Can we unmute them, sir?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Vijay, sir? They have just raised their hands.
Yeah, Mr. You
Raise their hands.
Yeah, I've unmuted, ma'am, but nobody is raising up points. Can continue with the session.
Okay. Sir, this is a general question, sir. Sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
This is a general question. Sir, how do you think now, in the post-pandemic period, if there is sports meet conducted, how do you think the situation would be?
Well, I think, it all depends on, what kind of a sports we are conducting. The sports meet has to be, it has to be very specific. There has to be specific instructions from that federation that, how we can conduct that sports. I'll just tell you about, cricket. In cricket, the only thing which will be in contact with the players will be ball. So the ball has to be, protected from all kind of, viruses and all that. So I think that will be slightly simpler than the contact sports. Cricket is not a contact sport, so I think it becomes easier for us to control the ball and make sure that, all the players are, sanitized and they wash their hands properly, because as such, before they come into the field, I think we can actually check them up, whether they have a temperature, whether they're showing any kind of a symptom or something like that. And based on that, they're allowed to play. And based on that, they take certain precautions, like, not touching each other, and make sure that all the time they're washing their hands. and make sure that the ball is sanitized properly. And don't we ICC has already said that you're not supposed to put your saliva on the ball, so that that doesn't carry from one to another. So that's some precautions have already been announced by ICC. I think if the only concern here is that when the sport is played, what about the crowd? The crowd is something which we need to take care. And if they are allowed, I think it should be with the one-third capacity. It should not be more than one-third capacity, so that they can maintain the distance to sit in the stadium. And that's how it should be for the time being, till some safety is or vaccine has been developed. I think this is what we can do.
Yes, sir. Then another thing, sir, all these amateur players, that is those who go for training in the morning for their session, they are also greatly affected. My son also being a tennis player, so he is also affected. He's not going for the training for the past 2 months. So what you would tell for them, sir?
What I say that, I also run an academy, so I know that, it's going to be not easy. So we have to take session wise and make sure that the minimum boys are there, and they are in such a way that, they don't have a personal contact. The moment they come in there, still I think we have to screen them, make sure that they are fine first, and then get them sanitized properly. Make sure that their hands are sanitized and washed properly. And see, the serious thing is that they cannot play a sport wearing a mask. That is something is you cannot ask them to do. The oxygen level, what they have to intake, it is very difficult for them if they are wearing a mask. So I don't think the mask is an option there. But the other things are options, like making sure that keeping the distance, making sure that they have an individual ball which is not being um, uh, probably not shared by others. Those are the things which can be looked into. Similarly, in tennis, I think it's very easy for them that tennis is such a sport where I think which can be easily managed with proper sanitization, proper distancing, and all that. It can be easily managed. Shuttle, tennis, all these sports can be easily managed. Cricket is one sport where we felt that we should not have more than 15 to 20 boys in one session, where they can keep a social distancing and make sure they are safe. And before they coming in, once they have a session like bowling session and a batting session, make them aware of these things, and make sure that they are properly sanitized before each activity. And that will really help them to maintain that. And I think they can continue the sports if consciously, if they can maintain that, they can continue the sports.
Yes, sir. Sir, one more question. The sports management is in huge loss. For this, how the admin body is going to recover, or is it dependent upon the government orders?
Well, I think, there are some autonomous sports. Other than that, most of the sports are run by the sports authority. So sports authority, I think they should be able to manage that, and they should be able to, I feel that, they have got the data, they've got everything, who's struggling and all that. See, cricket is one game where I know that, BCCI has taken care of their players, by giving the pension and all those things to them. And they are managing that. And the present players, they have earned enough. It's the local players. It is the local players who have not yet made the grade. They are the ones who's going to struggle a bit because of their, financial financial problems. But I feel that if the government, because they are the ones who are running all the athletics, they are the ones, they are running most of the games. The autonomous games, yes, I understand that they have a bit of an issue financially, but government can also help them out by stating that give them some packages where the sports person can get some benefit, not to for a luxury, but for living through this pandemic and make sure that they survive through this pandemic.
Yes, sir. Sir, one last question, sir. They're asking whether doing some homework at home in their respective sports, that would be enough for continuing their sports. And when is cricket likely to resume?
Well, that is actually a very good point. I think they can actually start. You know, in cricket we do have for batsmen there are a lot of shadow practice and all that, but for bowler it becomes slightly difficult. So I think they have. I'm hoping that after this lockdown is over, they'll allow in batches to practice, and they'll allow players to go onto the field and maintaining a safe distance and everything. They will be able to play the sport. See, the thing is that I understand that all the young boys, they are very eager to start the practice, and they are very eager to start the matches, to play the matches and everything. We are just waiting for the green signal from the government. Once they give us the green signal, then we will make our provisions to make sure that they are safe, and make sure that these people can get a proper sanitization before they play, and before they leave the field they get their proper sanitization. And with that, I think probably we might be able to control that. I understand that we have to live with the pandemic. There is nothing we can do about it. For the next 2 years at least, we'll have to live with this.
Thank you, sir. Our enthusiastic participants had seen the stadium and the cricketer in you. Thank you so much, sir. Once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Tain again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for your patiently answering the questions of the participants, and thank you, Dr. Gomthi. The second section commences on the topic, the effect of COVID-19 on sports and games. Corina of 2nd BBA LFDC will introduce the speaker.
It is an honor for me to introduce Mr. Norman Isaac, the Secretary of Telangana Basketball Association, who began his journey in an international basketball federation, popularly known as FIBA. He was a match official in 2006. His journey started out as a technical delegate. As Sir states, it was a good experience, for he learned management skills and was fortunate to watch international stars, including NBA players. It was a new high for Hyderabad, as our Sir became the first Indian to officiate as International Basketball Federation Game Commissioner in the final of the World Basketball Championship featuring Argentina and Spain in Belgium. Sir was also the Game Commissioner in 16 matches. We are honored to have you with us, Sir. Little Flower welcomes you.
Thank you, Corina. And our technical team has enabled the speaker to share the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Norman Isaac.
Good morning, everybody. It's a proud privilege to be associated with any activity or any sports-related activity, because sports has really placed us in such a place that we are able to be identified by so many people across. And having played the game, having benefited from the game, it is now our time as an administrator to really pay back to the game and see that the game goes forward. I'll be dealing on the topic of effect of COVID-19 on sports and games with basic relation to enthusiasts and admirers. As most of you all know that without admirers, enthusiasts, fans, spectators, whatever you call it, sports is very, very difficult to really survive. Sports and games have now become means by which countries compare and measure national prestige. A win on the sports field means much more than it was ever before. Sports personalities over the globe are straining every sinew and putting in that little extra effort in order to achieve laurels and put into shade once invincible records, which has catapulted them to fame and riches. In the present day scenario, competition has reached its zenith, and sports and games have moved over from just being a passion to more of a profession, with the top-notch athletes garnering millions through appearance fee, prize money, match fees, and much more from endorsements. Sportspersons have become ambassadors with a huge fan following. They get easily identified wherever they go. So they are the entertainers and they are the people who are looked at by many other people to emulate them. Sportspersons have become synonymous with commercials, and the huge fan following has rocketed them to a win-win situation. Also to the companies and the sponsors who want to have the best, and also the sportspersons themselves who are able to make an impact with their presence promoting these products. All this once again is because of the popularity that they have achieved on the sports field. The enthusiasts and admirers form a major chunk of the fan following of these personalities, and who could go to any extent to pick up the merchandise what is on sale, get the signature of their superstars, and also cherish a memory by taking a selfie with them. The football leagues across the globe, the NBA and the NFL in the USA, the cricket extravaganza, mainly the IPL, the Formula One races, the tennis circuit. These are just to name a few. These have crowds which go gaga over their superstars and would clamber to any extent to get close to them and go crazy in collecting the articles thrown into the stands by these players. The enthusiasts and admirers try to emulate their superheroes, be it their style of dressing, their walking style, and the brands endorse and also have the hairdo and above also their walking style, which they try to copy and put them into place. Slide 2. Effect of COVID-19. As all of you are aware, the novel coronavirus continues to grip a major part of the world. The pandemic has wreaked havoc. It has dispossessed lives. It has thrown the economy in shambles, and with no certainty as to when it will be mellowed down. The virus has spread far and wide, with major sporting events being cancelled or postponed. Training of sportspersons have been very badly affected, and this could take a considerable amount of time for the sportsperson to recover, to get back to normal shape and the rhythm they were in before the pandemic struck. Sports is not going to be the same when activity starts again. There would be a marked difference in approach, more of cautious and apprehension of the effects that could still be clear of the contagion. Many of the federations are now releasing the standard operating procedure, that is the SOP, what is called, for various sports and games and organizers in the hope of restarting these activities. But there still remains a great deal of skepticism among the sportspersons of the possibility of the virus being negated. Many organizations and individuals have taken a major hit with the shutting down of competitions. There have been reports that barring the top-notch sportspersons, many of the lower-ranked players across disciplines are finding it difficult and hard economically, just as Mr. Arshad Ayub has mentioned to us. They have little or no earnings, forcing them to take up the odd jobs for survival. Lucky are those whose federations are supporting them, like the BCCI, like Mr. Arshad Ayub has said. But this is not the case with the other places, other disciplines, which are dependent to some sort of a government funding before they really get to go their activities. This unorganized sector, I would like to call them as the unorganized sector because these includes many of the coaches, the support staff, volunteers, and many others are going through tough times as the virus has left them with no other vocation or profession to earn for their sustenance. The uncertainty of the continuance of the virus is also a big concern as it is still unpredictable as to how long it would go about. Next slide. The Bundesliga league in Germany, the Football League, and the other things which are listed on the screen are many of the events which have been postponed or cancelled with no uncertainty as to when these would start off. chess has now started what is called as the virtual competitions just to keep the players busy. However, sports bereft of spectators coming to watch the games is unnatural, obviously, and nobody is sure how these fans, admirers, and enthusiasts, along with the sponsors et al., will react to this experience. It is also to be seen whether this will provide harder experience evidence that fans approve this kind of sports consumption or not. Can a player give his 100%, or will their performance be half hearted and subdued with the stands being empty? Next slide. Can a footballer show his emotions after scoring a goal? And as he kneels and wheels towards the end lines and gesturing to the crowd, prompting them to acknowledge this feat. Next slide. Can a batsman wave his bat to the stand supporters, after scoring a well-deserved century? The chest thumping by LeBron James, as seen in the NBA games. The missing cheerleaders, as witnessed during the IPL games, which is a huge crowd puller. The Mexican wave, which has become so very famous across various sporting events and avenues. Most of you all may remember that the present scenario of sports fans and enthusiasts has been taken to a new level by Percy Abhishekara, who was considered to be the one-man Sri Lankan cricket fan who traversed across the globe with the Sri Lankan team, supporting and waving the Sri Lankan flag from the stands. He has raised the bar to such standards, and his presence was cheered and acknowledged by the commentators, by the spectators, and by the players themselves, wherever he went, and he set a trend for enthusiasts and followers to emulate. It's hard to emulate, but then Percy Abhishekara has really made a mark for himself. All this will be missing when the games are played to a closed stadium. Next slide. As a technical delegate of FIBA, I was also witness to two such games played in Taiwan during the last week of February 2020 during the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, as the government of Taiwan permitted the matches to be played, but without spectators. I could easily gauge the mind of the players, the activity, what they really wanted to prove. They were not able to give 100%. But then the players had no other choice but to go through the rigors, and it was evident that the cheering, the waving from the crowds could and will really make a big impact. And I could see that many of the players could not give their 100%. Though the games were streamed live on television, the very hustle and bustle in an empty gym with a capacity of over 8,000, taking away the sheen and glamour of the games. Can anybody expect Eden Gardens to be empty when a good cricket match is going on? Like Mr. Arshad Ayub has said, possibly the BCCI or the sports governing bodies could come forward and design a way wherein 1/3 of the stadium or 50% of the stadium is occupied by spectators who could really enjoy what is called as live sports. In the recent past, because of the spread of technology, the innovation in technology, people are now seeing whether its intervention will be some sort of a sustainability to sports. The big question here is whether sports without spectators will have sustainability. Nothing at this initial juncture can really be ascertained, but technology is redesigning sport at breakneck speed, and what remains to be seen is whether lovers can consume action in the form of sport. It is also being presumed that technological developments are convinced that real life spectator experience can to some extent be simulated using technology. But what is going to be its impact is one to be witnessed once these technological innovations are really put in place. This has opened the doors on those businesses which can improvise and bring in situation which is able to make a realistic backdrop in the stands, wherein the cheer, the moving around, the ecstasy of the players is produced to generate the interest to the players on field. A sense of bullishness about winning over fans, admirers, and enthusiasts is one such way to rekindle the hopes and put behind lackluster performances from players which would otherwise depict a lack of competitiveness among them. Post COVID 19 or after COVID 19 could see sports with far more fundamental changes. As the general conception, what is viewed as that sports persons do want to come back and perform on the field. Spectators and fans do want to come back to the stadiums and cheer their players, cheer their teams. But when is this going to happen? Sports and spectators go hand in hand, and definitely they cannot be separated. They are like conjoined twins, inseparable. But the hardcore supporters who are desperate to see sport in an alternate form, I repeat, the hardcore supporters who are desperate to see sports in an alternate form still feel that goals scored behind curtains are better than no goals scored at all. This is what we are seeing in the German league, which has just started, the South Korean football matches, which were also commenced earlier this month. They could at least have the thrill of being witness to such exploits electronically as a general feeling what has now come up. The stoppage of events, which is likely to be lifted to some extent soon, which all of us are also hoping, with solutions and alternatives being worked out, was one thing which no one really expected, but now are reconciling to the fact that it is a sober reality, a reality which may quickly put to shade the stereotype related to sports. Next slide. What is the effect then of COVID-19 on admirers and enthusiasts? One can decipher that a complete absence of crowd will make games hard to watch. This is the first kind of big effect what this is going to have. It would be a hollow experience. Players may not be able to give out their best. The absence of roaring, the rumblings of the crowd, the screaming and sighs coming out of the crowd, and the sports presenters, the commentators, would definitely have a telling effect on the excitement generated and also cut the decisive edge for the fans. Like all of us see during the cricket games, when the replay is being shown, the crowd is so anxious, the crowd is eager to see what the replays are, to see what is going to be the judgment given, and how they cry out, how they show their excitement, their joy when the result is given. All this would definitely be missing. There are also doubts whether pre-recorded sounds from the video game versions will be able to be mapped against live games to bring back the euphoria, which possibly could be a damp squib. Any which way, it is the fans and spectators who always will have the final say in sports and games. Whether they go back a satisfied lot, whether they are content in watching the games on screen, or whether they are able to get a first-hand recoil of the happenings. Spectators are important stakeholders. Spectators, here you can also term them as enthusiasts and admirers, are definitely important stakeholders. They help build communities. They create jobs alongside, because without sports, there are so many others who may be affected, who may not be able to get employed and garner. They also garner a common cause around a common and shared objective, a sense of belongingness. The support staff always show a sense of belongingness with the sports person. When one witnesses the jam-packed stadium during major cricketing events in India, the football leagues across the world, the NBA and the NFL in the USA, and the ever omnipresent crowds at the Grand Slam events in tennis, at the French Open, Australian Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open, and the ever omnipresent crowds at the Grand Slam events, spectators surely add spice and flavor to be in an event. The reverberating sounds from the galleries, the sale of merchandise and products at all venues, strawberries, which is so very famous at Wimbledon, are just to name a few. These are the add-ons which go along with sports. And it is for the enthusiasts and admirers who really come to the venues and take back memorable memories and contribute as important stakeholders. What does it mean then without fans in the seats for sports? It is hard or even impossible to talk about sports without its fans. These fans constitute and are a major part and parcel of the sports world. Eliminating fans is a crucial and a very critical element for the very survival of sports, for the very survival of sports persons, for the very survival of all those who are connected with sports in some way or the other. Can you really see a Mexican wave if a game is shown electronically? The shouting, the enjoyment, the joy, what they share with each other are things which really will go missing once we find that sports are held in empty stadium. This is the effect of admirers and enthusiasts, fans and spectators in a live game. Next slide. Observations have also been made by President Donald Trump, and I quote, "Many of them, which means sports, are going to be starting without fans. So it will be made for television," unquote. Not to be watching reruns, President Trump has had calls with all the major sports commissioners to recommence games in the US, how to get back sports in play, and how the process is going to restart. However, a game without fans has no soul was an observation made by a top-notch football player. To be a spectacle, a game has to have fans and is referred to as the lifeline of the game and sports. The noise, the buzz, the anticipation, the communal emotions, it isn't just about what makes sports better. It is what makes sports what it is as a spectacle, a thing which can be enjoyed by so many people who are witnessing it, who are viewing it on television, and who discuss it along with their coffee or whatever it is at later stages. Celebrity basketball player of the NBA, LeBron James, responded when asked, and I quote, "If I show up to an arena and there ain't no fans in there, I ain't playing." It clearly means that sports has to go on with fans and spectators because they are the one who motivate you. They are the one who bring out the best in you, and they are the one to whom you are playing. So sports and admirers, enthusiasts are all part and parcel of the game. LeBron also mentioned that the position of how just integral fans are to the game itself, to the intensity, to the rhythm, to the public, and it determines the flow of how the game is going to be played. Playing in a game with no fans is definitely not the most enjoyable moment or an experience for a player. The crowd's energy and synergy, everyone rooting and cheering, is part of the game. And the more fans that are packed into a stadium, the more exciting the games are going to be. The more it adds spice and flavor. With no fans, games itself could appear more like a practice session. And if the quality and intensity of play dips due to lack of fan presence, there will be even a further detriment to TV viewership and overall fan interest. If the public do not perceive the on-field and on-screen product to be as good without fans, the sports can face a very real predicament moving forward. Next slide. Advertising and marketing concerns. This is one area where sports and games are surviving. The biggest impact on a spectator-less, enthusiast-less events will be faced by the advertising and marketing concerns, whose investments would ultimately go futile. The traditional messages, the runners which are placed around the cricket fields, the football fields, and inside the indoor stadiums will go unnoticed. Corporate sponsorships will be hard to negotiate for both teams and players, and there would be a diminished value of a brand's contract. A matter of concern here will be the fall in revenues, resulting in fall in earnings, and the clubs could face a large cuts in endorsements, which could have a telling effect on their financial position. This would also be a huge loss of income individually for the players who have to maintain their teams comprising of support staff, coaching staff, and also those who look after their logistics as they traverse across the globe in their pursuits to in the pursuits of excellence. The decision of conducting events in a spectatorless environment is $1 million question and may well set the course for the business of sports for many years to follow. Already one is saying that even major cricket associations the world over are facing a financial crunch which could have varying impacts on the conduct of games, as running huge establishment costs would not be possible as the administrators would vouch for it over an extended period of time, with less revenues being churned in because no events are being played. Also, the faces of players, the jerseys they wear, the movements they make are all the same, of course, but the setting is so alien and different that a sense of dislocation would probably set in. There is going to be a marked effect on the leagues, competitions, teams, players, media partners, advertisers, sponsors, and all this can be attributed only because of the admirers and enthusiasts being kept away from live sporting events. Because these are the people who get connected with their stars. As you all know that incomes which are generated for the major sports event, for the major federations across the world, can be broadly classified into three categories. One is the broadcasting and the media rights, because unless you have the media rights, it is not possible for everybody to really go to a venue to witness the game. Sitting in the comfort of your house, sipping a good cup of coffee, or having some snack which you like, you really enjoy, and you put yourself in the footsteps of the star whom you perceive that one day I would like to become like him. One day I would like to emulate him. The second source of revenue for the federations can be in the form of commercials through sponsorship and advertising. As you all are aware, advertising takes place so much in the stadiums, and even as an administrator, as an organizer, when we have conducted major tournaments, we go across to various corporates, we reach out to them, we tell them that there are going to be so many amount of footfalls, your product is going to be seen by so many people. So please do contribute and be a part of our success story as we try to take the games forward. The major part and the final part of the revenues which are generated are through match day revenues. This is very, very important again when we relate it to the topic I'm discussing about enthusiasts and admirers. Because match day revenues basically comprise of ticketing, merchandising, and hospitality. The pricing of tickets is a matter of no concern for the fans, and they are willing to pay any amount of money just to get a ticket so that they are able to enter the venue and witness the game live. They're able to identify the team or the player, and with it, the euphoria and the thrill that is generated, which goes beyond the actual price they pay for the ticket. People are willing to pay a much higher price for a ticket so that they are able to enter the stadium. Hospitality and merchandise also bring in huge revenues as the enthusiasts are crazy to carry back the souvenirs what are sold at the venues. The souvenirs which replicate the stars, and they would like to prefer to be identified. We can see young children carrying back the replicas, the various other products which are endorsed by these superstars, their jerseys, because they take pride that they have been associated with such people. Coming to the conclusion now, next slide. Sports has a very big impact because sports order our levels in many ways. Right from the element of exhilaration that comes from watching the team you identify, the thrill and the commercial spirit of crowded sporting events will surely miss out without fans. Fans, admirers, enthusiasts are an integral part of any sports event and any sports competition. As each team has its own identity and fan base, the reality in both sports and entertainment is that more the eyeballs on the product, more the footfalls at a stadium, more the footfalls at a live game, then sports becomes a reality a reality with which many people will accept that we cannot undo sports without enthusiasts and admirers. A sport which once was good will again be the same. The return of sports isn't just sports for sports' sake, but it is for every one of us. It's much more than this, and this can be attributed only when the enthusiasts are by their side to prop up the venues, and with it, adding to the numerous other factors on which sports survives and is able to provide a whole realm of excitement, entertainment, enthusiasm, apart from being a source of providing livelihood not only for the players but to the numerous corporates and persons who look to sports. Though many prefer or not in a position to be physically present, but they would like to be made known like a team. We are in very pressing times. COVID 19 has really had a big impact on sporting events. Like Mr. Arshad Ayub has said, like everybody of you all are going to the newspapers, the television, but then sports is definitely going to return. Return with a bang. And it is for each one of us, the sports lovers, the sports enthusiasts, the sports followers, these organizers, and all of us have to get together once we are able to move away from the post COVID 19 stage. And it all depends, and we all can beat it. I repeat, all of us can beat COVID 19 and bring back sports to where it was and where it will be and where it will continue to be in future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I thank you very much for highlighting the disappointment of millions of sports admirers and enthusiasts. And as you said, sir, hope it will sports will return with a bang. Now I request Dr. Gumti to take over the question answer session.
Thank you, Ms. Sen. Thank you, Ms. Sen. Well said, sir. It was a vivid presentation. Our participants would have got enthralled in this session. The saying goes, the greatest benefit of enthusiasm is that it is infectious. And so when you are enthusiastic, you also inspire others. Now, I would like to present some of the queries from the participants, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Sir, what is your take on kabaddi? Because social distancing cannot be maintained in that sport.
Like Mr. Arshad Ayub has already said earlier, we have to differentiate between sports which are contact sports and sports which are non-contact sports. Like I also mentioned in my dialogue, that most of the federations are now coming up with a standard operating procedure, like how we should go about permitting players to practice, permitting events to be conducted, and permitting players to play in competitive games. Kabaddi is a contact game. So definitely we do need to have and do need to take all possible precautions so that we are able to really have a session, or we really need to move into the competitiveness only after ensuring that we are able to keep ourselves safe, keep the players safe. It is very difficult because Kabaddi is a very robust game, but then we do have to observe certain guidelines, sanitize ourselves, but social distancing definitely cannot be maintained because it is a contact game. So it's only a matter of time when possibly real competitive kabaddi or any other contact game can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, Mr. Ashraf has already told that saliva, that is applying saliva on the ball, that has to be banned. Likewise, in volleyball, is there any rules that can be put up?
Volleyball again is basically an indoor sport. But when you play outdoor sport, volleyball, because in most of the countries, not many people have the luxury to play in an indoor stadium. We just need to think about if saliva is going to have an effect. I do feel that even sweat of a player is also going to have an effect. So it is for the medical experts to really guide us whether sweat is also going to be a part of it. Because we never know. During some instance, a player may wipe his face or remove the sweat, which could go onto the ball. And once the ball is hit and it travels to the other player, and if a player gets into contact with it, there could be a possibility that this could be infectious, this could be contagious. So it is really for us to wait and see how good and how best we get an expert, an advice from the medical experts to really go about it. Like I would say, even a game like basketball, a game like hockey, anything can happen, but we just need to have that little extra precaution and ensure that everybody is safe playing the game.
Yes, sir. Sir, is it possible to conduct online tournaments like how it is done for archery during this pandemic time?
Yeah, it is possible. In some of the events they've already done, like chess had already done, Vishwanathan Anand and all the Indian players had taken part in it. Even in basketball, which the game I represent, we are also having some online shooting sessions, online other competitive events which are taking place. But I just cannot say about the other games because to some extent it may be possible, but virtual games, online games are there and have been tested over a period of time. But whether it will really provide the thrill, the competitiveness is to be seen.
Yes, sir. Sports have this amazing way of making a positive impact in society. Now, society is away. How do you think the spirits of a sportsman can be positive?
Sportsmen are always positive because I would feel that any person who takes up sports sees the ups and downs in his career. It could be a person who scores a century today. The next day he goes out, he's out the first ball. So unless a person has positivity in himself or herself, it is not really possible for any person to really overcome the deficiencies, the setbacks, what they had. So positivity plays a very, very important role in a sports person. And I feel that all those who play sports have really come across ups and downs, negativity turning into positivity. And this is a major hallmark of every sports person because I feel that everybody will be positive, and so also we get a positive response from our spectators, our enthusiasts, our admirers, because they're annoyed. They would have a lot of hopes that, Are, today my hero is going to perform well. But when he goes and sees that the player whom he takes interest in, the player whom he follows, has failed on that particular day, his hopes have gone down, but their negativity never sets in. He always hopes that the next time he does better. This is positivity, and this will definitely have a big impact on sports.
Yes, sir. One last question, sir. May I request the physical director of Little Flower Degree College, Mrs. Pratibha Pristri, to put up her question?
Yes.
Mrs. Pratibha Pristri.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, being a basketball, I have one question to you, sir. In basketball, there is man-to-man defense. So now in this pandemic situation, how it's possible? Man-to-man defense. Are you going to change the rule? Are you going to stop man-to-man defense?
No coach or player would like to lose. And in basketball, we just have two types of defense. One is called the man-to-man defense and one is called the zone defense.
Yeah.
Zone defense is predominantly played in countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the Southeast countries. But when you go abroad, when you go for international competitions, it is seen that most of the teams only prefer to play man-to-man defense. No doubt there is a contact, but definitely man-to-man defense is the only possible defense where you have the opposition in check. And if you want to win against your opposition, then man-to-man defense is the best form of defense. And it is very, very difficult to do away with this type of defense. So I feel and I hope that man-to-man defense would not have any impact whatsoever when the game resumes, and coaches and players will continue to emphasize the importance of man-to-man defense if they really want to win. Because winning gives a clear competitive edge and the satisfaction which a player, which a team derives. Man-to-man defense will be a part and parcel of the game of basketball.
Thank you, sir. Okay, continue, ma'am.
Sir, in basketball game, is which players come in contact. So how it's possible to conduct tournament in future and practice section also?
Yeah, just yesterday, FIBA, which is the world's governing body, has sent a big communication as to how we should start practicing and how we should slowly move into competitive sports. They have designed that not more than 15 to 20 players would practice in a session. And as most of you all may be aware, basketball is a game where we have players playing different positions. We have a point guard, we have a power shooter, we have a center. So each player has got a different role while playing on the court. So it is told that it has been suggested by the FIBA that the coaches split the players in a practice session into different groups, getting a cluster of players into one group who play the identical position or whom a coach expects them to play a particular type of game, and give them coaching without trying to avoid as much contact as possible, because still nobody knows what is going to be the effect of a contact, whether this is going to have a real impact on the players. So that is why initially we have been told, as per the communication received. But FIBA has also mentioned that we have to take the advice of the medical experts, the conditions being laid down by the governments for permitting sports and games to start off in a proper way. And this is all going to be gauged first by having some sort of a practice sessions, then moving into some sort of a session where the game goes on without contact, and then we move on to the full game. So these are the phases in which we would slowly move, depending and gauging as to how the experience we are going to gain by starting off with just normal practice sessions and then moving on into competitive basketball.
So zone defense is better, sir, nowadays, I think.
Zone defense is easier defense. So
We can
most of the
conduct
coaches,
nicely tournament.
yeah, it all depends on the coaches and the situation, because zone defense is comparatively easier compared to man-to-man defense. But it has also been successful. Zone defense has been successful in certain areas where where a team doesn't have a good tall center, and where the team doesn't have good shooters from outside. Zone defense will be very, very effective.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. If passion is there, enthusiasm never fades away. This is very clear from the way you are patiently answering to the queries of the participants. Thank you once again, sir. Over to Ms. Tain.
Thank you, Dr. Gomti, and thank you, sir, for answering the questions with so much of patience and clarity. Before we go to the third session, I'm happy to say that the principal of Nizam College, Professor L.B. Lakshmikant Rathod, has joined us. So I request him now to deliver his message on behalf of Nizam College.
Sorry, sir, can you unmute yourself, sir? Rathod, sir, please unmute.
Okay.
Yes, sir, we are able to hear.
Okay. Shall I start, sir?
Yeah, please, sir. Please continue, sir.
Okay. Very good morning, friends. This is a wonderful morning for me to take this opportunity in welcoming the guest speakers for this international webinar on sports and games and COVID-19 requisite. Mr. Arshad Ayub, former test cricketer, international cricketer, and former president of the Hyderabad Cricket Association, is alumni of Osmania University, and Mr. Norman Isaac, Commissioner of Federation International Basketball Association, World Basketball Federation, and Secretary, Telangana Basketball Association. Mr. G.V. Dhanalakshmi, former international athlete and medalist. She is now working as a superintendent of Central Goods and Private Taxes Department. She is alumni of Nizam College. In this jointly organized webinar by Little Flower Degree College, Uppal, and Nizam College Autonomous, I, on behalf of Nizam College, acknowledge the support and presence of my counterpart, brother Vincent Reddy, Principal, Little Flower Degree College, Uppal, and my deputy, Dr. Avinash Jeshwal, Vice Principal of Nizam College, and Mrs. Jayanti Reddy, Vice Principal, Little Flower Degree College, and their entire crew members for taking the initiative with a strong support, enthusiasm in bringing out this idea and concept of international webinar, emphasizing and realize the impact of COVID 2019 pandemic. During this dreadful pandemic time across the globe, with complete trust and confidence, we are eagerly waiting. We are also already, both the speakers, they are given a very good lecture on the part of COVID 2019, enlightening us their experienced ideas and situation solutions for the occasion, which will be a great information and encouragement to all the sport lovers. And especially Arshad Ayub, he told the safety of the players, how to play this pandemic. And the same thing expressed Narman Isak also. I'm very much thankful to all the participants. I wish you all a very good time to spare his valuable time in this webinar. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
The concluding session is about COVID-19 on physiological and psychological aspects on an individual. And as mentioned by Professor Lakshmikant Rathod, our next speaker is an alumni of Nizam College. Now I request Nasir Yar Khan of BA final year LFDC to introduce the speaker.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Dhanalakshmi, former international athlete from Telangana State and alumni of Nizam College. Ms. Dhanalakshmi was the best state athlete in state level for years and represented Andhra Pradesh since 1990 and was the first woman athlete to win silver medal for AP in 200 meters at Open National Competition held in New Delhi in 1990. Later in the year 1996, she started playing cricket and played many local and state level matches and was the best medium pace bowler and a good fielder. Mrs. Dhanalakshmi ma'am has won 3 silver medals and 5 bronze medals at the national level competitions and has won 3 gold medals and 2 silver medals at international level competitions. Madam is currently working for Central Goods and Service Tax Department in Hyderabad since 1991 as a superintendent. We are very proud to have us with you, ma'am. Little Flower welcomes you.
Thank you, Nasir. I request our technical team to enable the speaker to share the screen.
Yes, ma'am. Please continue, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning, Vijay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, ma'am.
First of all, I thank Mr. Arshad Ayub ji and Norman Isaac ji for sharing their views on the COVID and the sportsmen who are into it. And continuous to this, I would like to share in this session. I'm going to cover the stress and the anxiety of an individual as compared with a sportsman, their mindset, the role of the parents in their life. Then I will be taking up a small session regarding the international players' views, the methods of overcoming the lockdown period, and few tips from my side for you people who are staying at home, not getting bored but enjoying the time spent by you. Next slide, Vijay. I'm going to talk about the sequel of COVID-19 on psychological and physiological aspects of an individual. Vijay. Earlier slide, please. Earlier one, please, Vijay. Yeah, this, just stay with that. Yeah, yeah, fine. The anxiety and stress. This is the small screen where I have shared the views of a person. Like this is your mind, which is full of anxiety, stress, excitement, worriedness, fearfulness, everything in your mind. And accordingly, you keep moving on in your day-to-day life. Next slide, Vijay. Let's talk about individual. Fear, stress, worries are common in everybody. There is nothing like anybody is surviving without fear and all. All age categories people survive with a kind of fear at their own levels. If you are at school and all, you are a bit worried about your school classes, your exams, and when you're coming up to your college, about your goals and achievements. And in between, you try to lose your entertainment. If at all you are concentrating more on your education and leaving up your games and all sometimes, still the losing of entertainment also makes a role in it. And all those who are little adults and all, they are a bit worried about the job, money and health. With regard to the current situation, the basic thing, the stress and the fear is the common thing in each and everybody. In this session, I'm going to tell you the stress, worries, and fear, anxiety, which is common in individual and in sportsman too. Please. With a mindset of an athlete, the total mindset of an athlete is totally different. The mindset of athletes is something different, like the way of training, the way of working, things can change. And in an individual, the role of parents also makes it very important. And when you are at youth, the parents are more responsible to think about you. What is your interest, your studies, your play? If at all you are interested in study and all, what game are you interested? If at all you study, what are the subjects you are interested in? And then next stage is what sort of tutor will be the best person for you. And if at all you're in the game, what sort of coach or a trainer would be the best one for you, and what next for you in future. And they keep planning accordingly. And mindset is something like individual and athletes mindset is totally different. For individuals, those who are a bit studious type, they are a bit worried about their studies and their exams and their competitive uh, future exams or whatever it is. Well, about an athletes and all, they are mostly worried about the training, the diet patterns, the diet schedules they have to maintain. Parallelly, they need to set targets, as targets are common. If it is an individual and a student, or they too have to set their own targets. But athletes do take up their targets very seriously, because and they plan long term goals as well, because whatever they are targeting, they have to achieve at the end of the tournament or end of the year, because every year they have their own competitions which they have to face, and each and every competition is different from the other. Suppose there is an international competition at the Indian level. It is called, sorry, national competition at the Indian level. Every year the national competitions are being conducted, and the competitions at the national and international level. Few competitions they conduct every alternate year, and most of the competitions like Olympics, Asian Games, and all, they all are conducted after every 4 years. So most of the targets for these trainers, athletes, is very long term. It's totally a 4 years target, and training period for them, because the recent what they have announced that Tokyo Olympics, which got postponed, most of the athletes they were planning to participate in this tournament since last 4 years. So you can imagine the mindset, target, training, diet patterns, what all they might have followed very strictly for all these 4 years. And coming to this stage because of this COVID, suddenly this postponement of the tournament has been declared. And because of this postponement, many of the athletes who are really in a very good form and they are ready to perform and do better might have got disheartened, because of which they might have filled their mind full of stress, anxiety, and all. But still, they're sitting at home. Still, we can keep them fit. I'm going to tell you something like what we can do in this COVID. Since now we are facing this extra mental strain regarding the long-term plans, most of the athletes are very active and very active in their lifestyles, and now they have been totally isolated and led towards the boredom. The athletes are continuously training and competing with this pandemic effect. Their total program or the plans have been flopped, and they are totally moved into the isolation. The coronavirus lockdown impacts on athletes' mental and health both parallelly. Yes, Vijay? The long term plans, anxiety, obsessive hand wash, fear of getting too close to people is something which is a part of the life. Now, with this COVID and all, anxiety has to be killed, because if you are continuing with your anxiety, it is very difficult to move on with the anxiety, and your training will be totally affected. The the anxiety will kill you more than the real COVID epidemic fear. So, obviously, washing your hand is one of the fear which usually most of the athletes have, and now they are scared to go out for training as well, because once they start their training, they are fear of getting close to the athletes, and accordingly, they will be merging with the people, and then depending on the trainings and all patterns and all, it's very difficult to keep themselves away. To keep away slightly with this, stop thinking more and then be more active on your life. Next, please. Previously, we used to have group trainings and all, which was very common, because I myself, being a personal trainer, I used to take up group trainings, interval trainings, cross countries, and resistance training for all the athletes and all. Now, with this COVID effect, it has become very difficult for the coaches to plan their training patterns for the athletes. Especially, the group trainings were conducted with all age groups, and interval trainings were conducted with all types of athletes, all various types of games. Athletes and sportsmen were together while participating in the interval training. Even the cross countries were like that. And now coming back to the resistance training, it is something different. Resistance training is nothing but training in the gym. That will totally help you to keep yourself fit, even when you come out of this COVID. And now after this COVID, obviously you have to bond yourself to social distancing, which will be totally on your mind. But keeping in mind that whatever you are planning, you have to plan accordingly and keep yourself safe. The impact of international athletes. The impact of the current pandemic is unpredictable, and the athletes are totally sidelined. The international athletes are moving towards the isolation, how to cope up with this COVID-19 is the main target for these international athletes. Most of them are forced to stay back at home, hibernate themselves, and billions of people are facing this lockdown all over the world. And most of the tennis stars like Serena Williams and the Olympic stars, they are living with this a question that what is next? What is our future? And what is the next step? What is our future in taking up the competitions and all? And recently, 24 to 30 athletes have been diagnosed with a few coronavirus, because of which most of the sportsmen too are worried. They all are restricting themselves to the house. Next, please. The current situation of sportsmen, most of the sportsmen are house arrested. They all are thinking that they are totally isolated from the ground and all. They all are keeping themselves away. The athletes are totally out of action. And the main problem is that the Tokyo 2000 Games, how the what I have told earlier, that got postponed, because of which most of the athletes are discouraged, and totally they are in a random stage that they don't know when they are going to come back. And the best thing what I can suggest you at this stage is that those people who are sitting at home, national, international level athletes, or and individuals and all, try to keep doing training at home, not that sitting quiet. Keep doing some sort of trainings and also to keep yourself fit. The athletes do not know the next stage and when they are going to come back. And as soon as the quarantine or the isolation period is off and the competitions are declared, they need immediately jump into the competitions and prove themselves. Next, please. Vijay, next slide, please. Few tips to the athletes to keep them on toes in this lockdown period. To keep yourself, make a clean routine of yourself or your lifestyle. And physical training, at least spend 1 hour of time with your activities, doing conditioning, specific training, or anything. As technical drills also will help you with whatever facility you have at home. You start training with them, not that you wait for something to come up to you. Try to maintain good sleep. The sleep is very important for athletes as well, because nowadays even I watch my kids and all, they are not in a clear routine now because of this virus and all. They all have changed their routines and all, and they are sleeping late nights, and most of the times they are on the cell phones, which are generally of a good use if it is put to, or otherwise most of the time people are spending playing PUBG and other games. So I advise you to take up something, some activities which will help you to keep yourself fit most of the time. Like most of the athletes who are stationed at home, don't think that they are just sitting idle at home. They are training, but it is not seen to anyone. See, most of the athletes, they all do secret trainings. No one will come out with a video telling that I am doing so and so training to keep myself fit. So don't be under the assumption that the opponent is just simply relaxing and you are on the top because you are doing something. It is not like that. It is a secret training being attended by most of the individuals, and most of the top athletes, they do individual trainings. They don't go for group trainings. They have their own coaches, they have their physicians, they have their own massagers, they have their own trainers and coaches and own gyms as well. And if possible, they do maintain their own courts like shuttle badminton courts or TT table courts and all, which is small area. They can spare it for themselves. They have their own and they are continuing their practice. Don't think that they are totally out of the action. No, the only thing, they are not going to the gym and all, or not going into the public to participate or to see the other participants, but generally they all are at home, tuning themselves and keeping themselves fit, continuing with their sport and planning for the next future. As the next competition will be announced, they will immediately jump into the ground with the same performance whatever they were expecting. And in this lockdown period, most of the people are stationed at home. And what I would like to suggest that if you guys are sitting at home, just try to use your time by doing some sort of training or or anything like which is available to you at home. Maybe a small set of dumbbells or a biceps or triceps or dips, sit-ups, squatting, or these are small things which can be done without any equipment. Lunges, staircase climbing, uh, or doing sit-ups. This will help you to keep your mental stability and keep your anxiety levels down as well. And then let me tell you something next. And you remember, let me tell you that Shakespeare was also quarantined in 17th century due to plague. At that time, he wrote a famous play, King Lear. So all that is not lost for an athlete. There is still some hope. I advise you guys to go through this book, and it's really helpful, and maybe it will definitely help you to come out of this stress and anxiety. Let me tell you, at this stage, people, most of the families are staying in small houses and all, and they all think that how is it that I am going to do training, as people are telling that they want us to do something. Like, you can go on to your terrace or you can go on to your cellar where when nobody is around you, and start doing some sort of training, some sort of technical drills. If you're uh, with the cricket and all, you can do your shadow work as Mr. Ayub was telling. And if you're with a team events and all, you can do some fitness level of exercises which can keep you fit. With this small view and further, I would want to conclude by saying that whatever you are and wherever you are, please start doing whatever you can. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. With this small few lines, I would conclude this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Dhanalakshmi. It was a great pleasure listening to you. Over to Dr. Gomti to handle the questionnaire session.
Thank you, Ms. Sen. Thank you, Madam Dhanalakshmi. It was deep insight into the topic, the physiological and psychological aspects of an individual. Ma'am, we have some queries from the participants. Can I present it now?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. The first one is, doing home workout can lift our immunity and would help us to fight against this pandemic?
Yes, surely. Why not?
Then what would be your suggestion for their diet?
Right, they have to plan their diet, because since they are at home and your mom is cooking, don't stuff yourself. Try plan for a healthy diet, which is highly protein diet, which will be very good for you to improve your immunity power. And parallelly do some physical exercises, floor exercises, relaxed type of exercises, which can keep yourself at the base.
Yes, ma'am. The next question is, how to combat the mental stress caused due to the sudden change in their lifestyle?
I think this is something like unpredictable, as nobody expected this lockdown to come up in our life. But since it has come up now, and we are in a situation, and we are ready with this, that we have to set our mind that we have to live with this for another 2 years. That's a minimum time. But still, like, if people can try to come out of themselves, if people try to come out of this anxiety, stress and all, which is caused due to this virus and all, it is clearly in their hands. It is nothing that somebody is going to help you and somebody is going to pull you out. Don't wait for anybody to come and help you out. It is you yourself, you have to come out of this, and try to do something for yourself which keeps makes you happy, like you're staying at home and all. Stay with your family, keep yourself happy, and stick on to whatever you can do.
Ma'am, do you recommend any way of doing powerful exercise as athletes do in the gym while in the practice session in this pandemic time?
True, madam. Like intense training will help to come out of this COVID situation for these people who are totally stressed and all. This intensive workouts, like the workout related to a cross country, or a workout related to um, technical drills, or workout related to what I can say, that if you can pick up a training like a cross countries, where there is no, you can maintain social distancing and all, and since you are not going to gym and all, you can do some dips and sit-ups, lunges and all, which will really help you to keep yourself fit. A group running is totally avoided now, so you can, only thing what you can do is early in the morning you keep yourself out. You can just go for a long run. uh, with Be careful with these COVID people around you. Just try to pick up an area where it is not crowded and all. Maybe now, since lockdown has been opened and people are moving around, you can visit some places where it is totally isolated, and you can continue your training and all, and keep yourself fit.
This question is from a physical trainer, ma'am. What about football game in future? It's totally body contact game, and they'll be splitting the students into batches. So what you would suggest?
True, madam. Some of the games which are individual, those people are happy. They can train on their own. But the games which are totally physical contact games, like basketball, football, volleyball, and all, like Norman Sir was telling about the sweat and all. That is a common thing which has to be kept in the mind of athletes while they are training. uh, it is really difficult to say that we are totally safe with this COVID, but still, it will take some time for us to get addicted to this situation by keeping social distancing and all. But these games are totally very difficult to play, because it is not an individual game. You cannot play individually, since football is a game where you have to snatch the ball from an opposite person, where you cannot keep yourself away. You have to be behind the ball, and not that one person. There are at least 3 or 4 person players together struggling to pull the ball out. So at this situation with this COVID and all, it is very difficult, and we don't advise the team games to start off immediately. Let them do the fitness levels and all, and with the social distancing and all, and let's see if any medicine or any vaccine comes out in near future. Maybe it will be really helpful for the sporting games, like the team games, to start on to the with full swing and all.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for patiently listening and answering to the queries of the participants. Thinking will not overcome fear, but action will. It was very clear from the session. And thank you once again, ma'am. Over to Ms. Tain again.
Thank you, Dr. Gomti. Gratitude is a simple form of demonstration. We conclude this session with it. I now request Dr. G. Samuel Prabhu from the Department of Physical Education, Nizam College, to lead the way.
Very Hello.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Mr. Vijay, can I start?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
A very good afternoon to you all, and my greetings to you all with a few words of gratitude, as it goes on to say, gratitude is a music where both the player and the listener enjoy it. At this point of time, I applaud, appreciate, and uphold our eminent meritorious sports personalities and our speakers, Mr. Arshad Ayub, Mr. Norman Isaac, and Mrs. Dhanlakshmi, who have shared, elicited their views, experiences, and solutions to the present situation of sports and games. I extend my gratitude to Brother Vincent Reddy, Principal Little Flower Degree College, Professor L.B. Lakshmikant Rathod, Principal Nizam College, and Dr. Avinash Jaiswal, Vice Principal Nizam College, who have encouraged us from the day one of planning for this webinar. My special thanks to Mrs. Jayanti Reddy, Vice Principal, Little Flower Degree College, Mrs. Pratibha, Physical Director, Little Flower Degree College, the MCs of this international webinar, and the entire team members of Little Flower Degree College, who have really strived hard in making this international webinar an informative, creative, memorable, and a successful occasion. I thank all the participants for their participation, who has been a great contributor to this program through this participation. I take this opportunity in extending my gratitude to each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. Now, Mrs. Pratibha Presti from the Department of Physical Education, Little Flower Degree College, will deliver an appreciation speech.
Thank you, Te. Good afternoon. This is Pratibha Prusti, Physical Director of Little Flower Degree College. As we come to end of the section, I would like to express my deep gratitude to our eminent guests and appreciation to our wonderful proactive participants. On behalf of LFDC and Department of Physical Education, my deep sense of gratitude to our eminent guest, Mr. Arshad Ayub, former Indian cricketer, Mr. Norman Isaac, Commissioner of FIBA, and Mrs. Dhanalakshmi, former Indian athlete, for taking time out of their busy schedule and making us aware of the effect, impact, physiological and psychological effect of COVID-19. I take this opportunity to give my thanks to our management, our principal, Reverend Brother Vincent Reddy, our vice principal, Mrs. Jayanti Reddy, for their encouragement and constant support. I would also like to thank Principal Professor L.B. Lakshmikant Rathod, Vice Principal Dr. Avinash Jaiswal, and my co-convener Dr. G. Samuel Prabhu from Nizam College for extending support in collaborating with LFTC. Once again, I would like to extend my thanks to the participants whose keen interest could be seen in this webinar. Lastly, my sincere appreciation at the staff and faculty and students of LFDC for their support. Our special thanks goes to Mr. Vijay and Mr. R.K. Raman from the Department of Computer Science for their technical help. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mrs. Pratibha Presti. Before the webinar is concluded, I would like to inform the participants not to leave the WhatsApp group. The link for downloading the certificate will be generated after the feedback form is answered. The link is in the chat box. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in this webinar. Before I sign off, Little Flower Degree College and Nizam College would like to pay homage to one of the greatest hockey players after Dhyan Chand, Shri Balbir Singh, who passed away 2 days back. India salutes you, Shri Balbir Singh. On this sober note, I take leave. Good day. And thank you very much.